Hi, welcome to Power the Network. I'm your host, Tim Locker, Vice President of Broadband here at CBM. Today we got a real special guest, Mr. David Gordon from Channel Marketing Group. He and I were introduced maybe a year and a half ago. He came in and did some consulting for us, got an amazing grip on what's going on in the electrical industry, also does some work in the HVAC industry as well, works directly with manufacturers, reps, distributors. Excellent wealth of knowledge here, and happy to have him on the show. Let's get into our conversation. David, thank you so much for joining us today. Appreciate you taking your time and being on with us. I'd like to start off talking about something that I think a lot of reps maybe struggle with, and I know we do. So I'd like to talk a little bit about marketing. What's the proper mindset for a company to take when it comes to marketing?
Well, it's interesting because in the last month or so, I've probably been with, probably 40 or 50 different reps, because we facilitated a network group for reps, and then I was just with a bunch, and then with a manufacturer. And the issue keeps coming up. More and more reps are now hiring a marketing person. So they've got a marketing coordinator. We actually know an agency that's got 4 people on.
Wow.
The first step is that an agency needs to really recognize that it's a marketing agency. And what I mean by that is that as much as you're called a sales rep, you're not taking cash from a customer. You're creating demand.
Yeah,
Purpose
that's
of
a good way to look at it.
Creating demand. So it's a mindset issue. I think a challenge that a lot of reps have is they think marketing is collateral, email, and events. But marketing is about how do you create demand in a non-personal medium environment.
What do you mean by that, non-personal?
A salesperson face-to-face.
Okay.
So a non-personal means you're going to do it through email, print, video, display stuff. How do you get product and the value proposition in front of the customer in other ways? The other challenge... One of the struggles, I think, like from my point of view, has always been, so we're kind of, as a rep, you're the middleman, right? We're not the manufacturer. We represent them. But we don't take the PO a lot of times. It can go through a distributor, et cetera. So kind of being in that middle, if you get on Facebook or Instagram and you look at things and there's all these things in your face to buy, click here, click here, click here. We don't really have that opportunity for like a click to buy to generate, an actual purchase. But think about something that I call remembrance marketing.
Okay.
What I mean by that, when you go to a customer, you have essentially buying a portion of his time. Whether it's 5 minutes, an hour, 2 hours that you're in front of him. When you leave, you're out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah.
Marketing is a way of being there when you're not there. It's what I call remembrance marketing. How do you get information in there when you're not there? And when you're there, how many other customers are you calling on?
Well, one thing too, so I think let's go back a little bit to defining what marketing is. I think like the specific tasks. I know you mentioned a lot of us think it's just, emails and so on, but how do we define? Sometimes I think I overthink things, and it's like, okay, I think of marketing, it's got to be this big creative thing. But it sounds to me like you're kind of simplifying it a little bit in maybe better terms of.
The essence of marketing is creating demand. You can always go back to the 4 Ps: product, price, promotion, place. But the essence of that is getting the message of your product or of your brand in front of the customer. So the customer is thinking about you and identifying opportunities for you. It's creating that demand because you're in the role of trying to get brand preference.
Yeah, that's our whole job. Absolutely.
Right. So then everything else. So when we start talking email and print and promotions and events and things like that, those are all tactics to get the value proposition in front of the customer, to get the product, to get applications in front of the customer. But marketing can also be market research because it's another way of talking about what you're doing and bringing your value proposition. Because as an agency, you're trying to promote CBM and your value proposition. Then you're trying to promote your your suppliers, and you're trying to promote specific product for that application. But you're really trying to understand the customer's need.
Yeah.
But you need to show them what you have, your portfolio of why should they even think of calling Tim Locker? Why should they think of calling CBM? Because you and CBM stand for something. You happen to have a portfolio of a dozen, 15, 20 manufacturers who have the ability to help the customer with some solution.
Yeah.
And then they've got 100,000 SKUs beyond that for you to choose.
Are you seeing a separation between firms that are doing a good job with marketing and firms that aren't, in terms of retaining their manufacturers and a preference from manufacturers?
Well,
specifically,
we see, first of all, those agencies that do better in marketing have higher growth.
Yeah, it goes hand
revenue
in hand.
production.
Yeah.
The issue of retention versus lines, that's a much more difficult thing to come about, because why does a line leave? Lots of different reasons.
Yeah, there could be a bunch of different reasons.
So I don't want to limit it to straight marketing. Now,
Sure.
I was with a manufacturer earlier this week, and one of the things that they did last year is they rolled out a rep marketing fund. So they told all their reps, we're going to give you X amount of dollars for marketing.
Interesting.
And the amount varied by rep based upon their market potential and what they had done.
Sure.
But they had to come up with a plan first. And they had to then obviously do those activities and get reimbursed, or if some money is advanced, things like that.
Sure.
And the client really gave them no limitations on what marketing could be. It could be for a training event. It could be reimbursement for food for a counter day that was going to be creative. It could be for e-marketing activities. It could be coming up with displays that are specific to a distributor. It could be for logoed items, giveaways, sponsorships, whatever the agent wanted to come up with for that would be right. Interestingly, only a third of the agencies came up with a plan.
Oh, wow.
And when you look at sales performance for those agencies versus people who didn't, there's a high correlation to those who did marketing.
That makes sense. That's one of the things that's always been a struggle too, is it's I like that you tied the two together, because it's hard to put a number on the actual effect of the marketing. But if you look at it in how you're describing it, it's just a performance base. You're putting yourself out there. Why do they want to deal with you? You're in front of them more, so it makes sense.
Well,
but that's one of the struggles. How do you take the capital and pay for quote unquote marketing person. And I guess your question is really, how do you not, right?
Right. When you hire a new salesperson, how much runway do you give him before you would just deem him successful and not successful?
Well, I mean, that's kind of depends on, how much knowledge and how much experience they all come with, but, it does takes a little time to develop a territory, like we deal with, but
Okay, but how much time would you say would be fair?
so 6 months probably, where you're starting to kind of, we always say here it takes 2 to 3 years to really develop your territory, but I think in 6 months or so you can tell if we're going in the right direction or not.
Okay. And it's interesting you said the 6 months. Now, remember, we didn't rehearse any of this.
Yeah.
Marketing, when you're doing it consistently, you won't see the benefit for 6 to 9 months because you got to create the consistency and you have to have the messaging out there and you got to build the expectation. So it's interesting the two kind of flow together.
Yeah.
I've got a friend who's got a recruitment firm in the industry and for years told him he needed to start doing some marketing. And, the challenge with a lot of us, and agencies are the same way, is we suffer from the cobbler syndrome. And the cobbler syndrome is, why the cobbler's son never had shoes?
No.
Because dad never had time to make them for him. Dad was always doing it for customers.
Yeah.
We're always out there doing something for the customer. So as small businesses, we try doing some of these other things kind of on a shoestring, on the fly, in our spare time.
Yeah.
You and I probably couldn't draw something worth a damn.
Yeah.
But we have the ideas. We need people to implement them. So when that marketing person is implementing them, the customer starts seeing stuff on a regular basis and they're getting information that's of value. Not just the trinkets and trash of putting a logo on.
Yeah.
It's information that's of value. It starts hitting home with them.
What kind of things are you seeing being more successful? Like more video content or product specific things, or what do you think is most successful?
There is no one thing. And I hate to say it that way because the best thing is an integrated marketing strategy. You can't only do email because Bill Gates invented the delete button.
Yeah.
All right. Because open rates are declining because people get so much stuff.
Yeah.
The information's really not thought out well. And if you're going to contractors and you got electricians and project managers, they're getting so much stuff during the day, they don't have time to read it.
Yeah.
Or this manufacturer I was with today, I said, these distributors and the manufacturers who put out promotions that have pricing that are going to go to a contractor during the day, do they think the contractor is waiting for that promotion with that price to make that order, let alone he's going to buy extra stuff?
Yeah.
Contractors buy for what they need for their project.
Yeah.
An ad hoc promotion is not going to, via email, is not going to say, let me click here to buy.
So in that scenario, you want something that's going to keep them loyal to you when they are buying. Then
right, but that's going to be
more effective.
But if you were going to, let's say you were going to do a count today for some reason, because the distributor wanted you or whatnot, what's the marketing that has to happen before that they should do and that you should do to drive more people to that event? What are you doing at that event? What's the messaging for that event? Are you going to have a premium there? What's the follow-up strategy? All that fits into marketing.
Yeah.
So it's not just let's do a count today. If we're going to do a count today well, it's all the other. If you're going to do a training event, what's the topic? What's the presentation going to look like? Who are you going to invite? How are you going to drive them? How many people do you need to do? What's the follow-up strategy? What's the remembrance thing you're going to give them so that they remember it?
Oh, that makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. Um, I was going to ask too. Do you see any e-commerce in our markets at all, or is that going to be a thing, or do you think it's still more of a relationship deal?
It will always be relationship because people buy from people. If people weren't buying from people, we would have no need for reps because everything would be a commodity and people would know exactly what they need. But there's a lot of e-commerce going on, but it comes down to how you're defining e-commerce. E-commerce defined as buying online via a distributor website is only 2 to 3% of sales. And
Okay.
the holy grail is 10%. Because think of gear, lighting projects, and wire. That's 50 to 60%.
Yeah.
Very tough to do. Think of the contractor buying experience. When a contractor he first contacts a distributor to get a quote. He doesn't contact one, he contacts multiple, right?
Yeah. Got to get the best price.
And then he turns around and goes out and gives his customer the proposal. So now he gets the business. He comes back. Does he just go to one of those distributors and hands them that order?
Not
No.
necessarily. Yeah.
He requotes it, right? Going to get 3 to 5 more quotes, right?
Yep.
And then he's going to cherry pick amongst them probably. So trying to do all that online and push that to him, it's a hell of a lot easier to send an email to the inside sales guy.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense.
But what we're seeing, there are some tools out there that mid and larger size contractors are using to go from system to system. We're seeing a growth in that. So it's similar to like on the industrial side with his e-procurement and punch-out systems.
Okay.
That's coming to the contractors. The larger ones there's a couple of platforms out there that they're using, or some of them are starting to build their own. So we're seeing more of that. I ran across a system earlier this week where you could literally write on a piece of paper, take a camera photo of it, upload it to a site and upload it to a distributor site, and it would convert into an e-commerce order. And you get an email back. You just click on the link that, yes, that's what I need. But they also then have a capability that, let's say someone's in their truck or on the job site, they could call 1-800 e-commerce, just verbally say what they need, part numbers or whatnot. The system would take it, identify it, push a text message to verify. You click to order.
Wow, that's amazing.
That's all e-commerce, though.
Yeah.
What we've seen in the research that we've done on e-commerce is the number one thing that why people go to sites is for product information. Number 2 is for spec sheet. 3 and 4 depends upon the customer. It could be price or its availability.
Okay.
The last is just the procurement of the order. So there's a lot of electronic commerce being done. Whether or not it gets finalized to the order being transacted that way is secondary, because people want self-serve.
So that kind of leads into, one of the questions I had for you was, what AI or automation or whatever you want to call it, what kind of effect are you seeing that have on our industry?
It hasn't had that much yet, but there's lots of conversation about it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people doing stuff individually, just personal use, using ChatGPT or Perplexity or Cloud or Gemini.
Sure.
A lot of productivity tools there. There's some purpose-built software now coming out for distributors and for manufacturers. On the distributor side, there's tools that some distributors are testing where the order comes in and the software automatically matches it up to their product database so that the inside people are not having to type all that information in.
Okay.
That will save a distributor 30 to 40% productivity of inside salespeople.
Wow.
We're seeing tools that are going to help improve pricing. And when I say improve pricing, it's not so much that it's going to get lower, it's going to get higher. It's going to get consistent. It's going to take out errors. Those type of things. It's, the days of the customer going to talk to 3 different people and getting 4 different prices.
Yeah.
Those days will go.
Yeah.
It'll help with inventory management. I was in a meeting last week, and the sales management people were saying, could we do this, and this using AI? And what it was all process-oriented stuff that their guys are doing.
Yeah.
Or getting information automatically loaded into the CRM systems and shown a different way. So people are conceiving things that they'd like to have done.
Yeah.
It's whether or not the company's IT people or others have time to do it. But it's also very important to remember with all this technology we have coming, companies are used to spending only X amount of dollars in technology.
Yeah.
And then it goes on a service plan. They're not used to continuous investment in it coming from all parts. And you've heard the phrase, you've heard what the term BOAT means, what that's an acronym for. It's not that thing that you go in and you have a fishing rod and you think you're going to go and get.
No, break out another 1,000.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, for a smaller, for a smaller company like ours too, I was going to ask, is there anything in that technology space that we should be looking at? Or is it a little early yet?
Some of that ties to which of the rep ERP systems you have.
Okay.
There's a couple that are doing stuff with AI right now that, if you're on one of those, you should be what I'll call Curious George and going out and asking and seeking.
Gotcha.
If you're not on one of those, you should be kicking tires. There's another platform that we know that does quotations for reps. Starts with the lighting, but they're getting into full line electrical, and they're using AI for all of that.
Okay.
And when they're doing a quote, it automatically gives you all the submittal sheets and spec sheets behind that as part of that quote.
Interesting.
And I know some people who are playing around with AI as creating automated service systems and customer service and bots and things like that, and pulling in their manufacturer product data.
Okay.
But what we're also going to see, because we're having some discussions, is reps who have the same line or, they know each other well and they're not in the competing territories. There's going to be some groups forming where it's going to be sharing of technology, sharing of ideas. Because
that's interesting. Yeah.
You're small, but if all of a sudden 5 small people get together, it might actually mean some real money that could be invested.
Yeah.
And
that's an interesting dynamic. Yeah.
We're talking about, it doesn't have to be a lot. I mean, there's one guy I know, he's gone onto Fiverr, Fiverr, and found some freelance people to build a artificial intelligence application for himself.
Yeah, there's so much change, and it's kind of overwhelming, really. But and for me, kind of an old school guy, frankly, just an old guy. Some of this new technology is a little bit of a challenge and a little bit daunting to take on.
But at the same time, Tim, that creates opportunity within the agency.
Yeah.
Because you've got some other guys who are younger who have interest in these things. It's pull them in,
Yeah.
maybe share some ideas and say, guys, what do you think? And guys, can you run with this?
Yeah.
And
I was
then
going to ask about that too with, the different generations. We're seeing, a lot of top level executives and just the last several years, some of our older generation is kind of retiring out of the market. And we've got a lot of newer folks coming in, and we even see that within our own company. How do we manage that transition just generationally?
it's tough. Another reason why it's tough is because a lot of that next generation, they're not looking for the tenure that our generation did.
Yeah.
So many of the resumes you look at, they've been in a company a year, 2 years, 3 years before they move on.
Yeah.
Part of that is societal and the way they're brought up.
Sure.
You
How
have,
do we change that? How do we get, from my standpoint, having loyalty and being at an organization a long time is important. And I hate to generalize about, the younger generation, but how do we get them to see the value in our company to stay for the long term?
that's a case of when you're in the hiring process, you're looking for certain personalities, characteristics, skill sets, behavioral styles, the essence of the person. They have
Sure.
to like where they want to work. You have to understand that the way you do things and the way they will do things are different.
Yeah.
But this entitlist mentality that's come about because of COVID, where they feel they're entitled to work at home, and that you as the employer should feel lucky that they deem that they'll work for you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Some of that's starting to change. And part of the issue is that there are so many companies that also just didn't treat their employees like people.
Yeah.
And what I mean there is, someone's kid is sick or needs to go to the doctors or you got to go to school. So you tell them to go. There's balance. At the end of the day, it's treating people like adults. And if the work gets done, don't worry too much about it.
Yeah. No, that's a good.
And
that's
I
a
know
good way
you
to look
believe
at it.
in that because that's kind of the culture within CBM.
Yeah, we've got a ton of flexibility, and we all know what needs done, and we get
Right.
after it. But yeah, we
It's treating
certainly like to
people
think
with
we take care of our
respect.
folks. Yeah.
And I think as people get more and more exposed to that, they get more comfortable with where they are. And people want job enrichment, not
Yeah.
job enlargement.
Yeah.
They want to see opportunity. And if all those right things are there, then they'll have the tenure. If they don't have that, they're going to be a transactional person. And there are some roles, quite frankly, a transactional person is okay.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that makes
there's
sense.
just balance. There's no one good answer in any of this.
Yeah.
And I think
That's what makes it so
there.
fun to hash it
Yeah.
over. So. Hey, real quick, I know we talk a lot about younger generations and the hiring process and the job shortages and so on. But at CBM, we're always looking for great people. Why would you want to come to work for us? We're an employee-owned company. We brag about that a lot. Our ESOP is a really good program. It brings a lot of value. It really drives longevity and provides good security for your future in terms of retirement. So that ESOP plan, that's an employee stock ownership program. So, while you're working here, you're also building wealth in that retirement plan as well. If you're looking for a great sales organization that you want to be a part of, whether it be inside, outside, marketing, you name it, we've got positions open. So look us up, cbmrep.com, go to our careers tab, and reach out to us. We'd love to have you. Tell me a little bit about, I know you've worked on this for NIMRA and the rep of the future. Tell me a little bit more about what that looks like.
Well, we did the Rep of the Future report for NEMRA in 2020. Actually, we launched the first one that we did. NEMRA's been doing it for, I think, three times before that. We launched it February 2020, and from that, there came 5 pillars that were product expertise, marketing, demand generation, people, and planning.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure those were the 5. And we've kind of laid out kind of a roadmap of what people should be doing inside of those areas.
Okay.
For this 5 or 6 things. And there's a document that I'm sure you've seen from NEMRA that kind of laid that out. That's helped a lot of agencies kind of have a business plan that they could build around.
Gotcha. Kind of defines more definition to the role of a rep and what manufacturers are looking for and what their expectations are.
The dynamics that have changed. Now, what we just released in September is the Manufacturer of the Future report. And that was based
interesting.
on 35 interviews we did with manufacturers. It focused really on the dynamics that they see happening in the market today and how they see that will change their business to a degree and their dynamics with their reps. We didn't ask about what's going to happen for the distributor in the future because we've all seen what's happened with consolidation.
Sure.
There's been, as of today, 114 acquisitions in the last 3.5 years within electrical distribution. So we kind of know what that trend is going to be.
Yeah.
That train doesn't stop.
Yep.
And we know they're investing in CDCs and RDCs, kind of like the bigger the better.
Sure.
Operational efficiency. We know they're having the people issues. They're having more churn in personnel than you have. They're investing in technology. So kind of where their future is understood.
Yeah.
How reps deal with that, how manufacturers do is different. And the purpose of the Manufacturer of the Future is the customer for a rep is the manufacturer. Because the definition of a customer is he who gives you money.
Yeah. Yeah.
Your money comes from the manufacturer.
Yep.
So therefore, if you understand what his needs are and his expectations of a rep, then we're going to be working on the Rep of the Future of what do they need to do to satisfy their customer.
Yeah.
Because you call on the distributor, you're trying to influence what he carries.
Yep.
Because with all this consolidation going on, it's more and more difficult for you to get shelf space in a warehouse.
Sure.
Because those decisions are made other places.
Yep.
As we talked about with marketing, your role with the end customer, contractor end customer, here again is about influence.
Yeah.
To create that brand preference. So the distributor and the end customer, the contractor or the end user, they're just flips of each other on what your role is.
Yeah. The more contractors we have, requesting our products, the more that distributor is going to keep them on the shelf. Obviously,
right.
But
because it's self-preservation, right?
Yep.
They want to write that order. Because if they don't write that order, what are you going to do?
Somebody else will write it.
Sorry, Mr. Contractor.
Yeah.
XYZ doesn't carry it, but these 2 others who are supporters of us carry it. Customer, that contractor will say, that's fine. I already have an account with them too.
Yeah.
So that's what the Manufacturer of the Future report really got to.
Okay.
And we covered a number of different areas in that report. That's available for NEMRA members for free. And, if you just reach out to Sue Todd, everyone in the agency should be reading that. It's only a 12-page read. And you should make sure every one of your NEMRA manufacturers read that too.
Yeah.
Because you should be looking at that and saying to them, this is my expectations of you.
Yeah, and I think that ultimately is what it all boils down to, is that communication channel between the manufacturer, the rep, the distributor, all three together working towards a common goal. And that,
Yep.
I saw one of your presentations about that joint business planning.
Uh-huh.
And is that really what you're talking about there, so that all three entities are, working collectively together? Or give me a little more perspective.
Business planning is different. See, the manufacturer of the future report, you should make sure you guys are reading it. We're also presenting that at NEMRA.
Yep.
Your planning process should break into a couple of different phases. As an agency, you should be doing your own planning now for next year.
Yep.
There's an agency plan, there's a sales plan, and there's a marketing plan that should be at the agency level.
Okay.
You already know what your manufacturers want for next year.
Yep.
Which
they all
one
want
of
growth.
Which one of them doesn't want growth, right?
None. Yeah,
Right.
They all do. They all do.
And we know that they all are going to want 5 to 10%. And yeah, they'll have some differences in product here and there. But how many of them come out with something really new to impact next year? And even if they are going to come out with something, they're not going to tell you too much about it because they don't know when they're really going to have it.
Well, that's always the struggle. When's it going to come out? When are we actually going to be able to sell it?
Right. So if you already know so much about what you need to do and you know your market, you should develop that plan and either meet with them relatively soon to develop their plan, to develop that joint plan, or at NEMRA you get more to develop that.
Yep.
But that's fitting their plan into your plan. If you're waiting to do planning with them until NEMRA, first of all, it's only a half hour, 45 minutes.
Yeah. Yep.
We're already 2 months into the year.
Yep.
To get a 12-month goal on something you already knew you could have done ahead of time.
Yeah. Oh, that makes sense. And we do planning multiple times a year, but yeah, this is that time of year where we're already looking at, next year.
Yeah. What's Hoffman going to want that you don't already know?
More growth. Yep.
Yeah.
No, that's a great point. One other thing I wanted to touch on, I saw one of your posts and you talked about how a rep, how we need to be selling opportunities and not servicing opportunities. And I liked kind of your perspective on that. In other words, if you're servicing an account, you're kind of just waiting on like the next thing to come up. But if you're selling opportunities, then, we're generating actual sales and actual leads. So give me a little bit more on your perspective there.
There's a lot of people in our industry who focus on the servicing side. They wait for the customer to say, this is what I need.
Yeah.
It's still part of selling.
It's an important part. You got to take care of your customers.
Relationship part. It also gets to that LAZY word. And there are plenty of people who make a very good living doing that. And they service the hell out of the customer. And there are some customers who are just that way. I know what I want. Leave me alone.
Yep.
Selling comes down to creating demand. It's creating budget. It's finding new opportunities. How many distributor salespeople? Go to any distributor. Forget about their salespeople. Ask them how many new accounts they opened this year. And classify a new account as someone who does more than $25,000.
Sure.
And at least 10 invoices. Not too many.
Yeah.
Salespeople aren't going out and knocking on doors. They'd rather focus on their 5 accounts or 10 accounts.
Yeah.
And they get a 40 people or 50 people on their call list or on their account list. 90% of their income comes from 5 accounts.
Yep.
The rest are what I call compensation justification accounts. Because you get a little commission on it for doing nothing on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And some of those accounts are legit because Johnny does a moonlight project. That's a different story.
Sure.
But selling goes out and it's opening new accounts, it's creating new opportunities, it's bringing ideas to a customer, it's creating budget.
Yeah, I like your perspective on that. So you, as I would guess, you're more of a consulting role, correct? You work with
channel marketing group.
Yep.
We consult.
So what's your value proposition to whether a manufacturer or a rep? I mean, you've come in and done some work with us. I know your value proposition for us in terms of shedding some insight on different things. But where's your value for a manufacturer, or what's your, give us a little bit about what you do and what you bring.
The elevator pitch.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, we work with manufacturers, distributors, reps. We've worked with associations, some technology and service providers. Probably 90% of our business is in electrical. We're doing a little bit more in HVAC and some other things.
Okay.
But we focus in the areas of strategy, marketing strategy, and market research. So we'll come in and do the idea generation, the research, craft ideas, and give people approaches. We'll do everything from strategic planning to voice of customer research to customer satisfaction to end user market research to developing promotional strategies, incentive programs. And then when we're getting involved with some accounts and we do very strategic stuff, I've gotten involved in some M&A things. We wrote the POS standards for the industry. I've gotten involved with an organization called ETIM, E-T-I-M, North America, which is Product Data Classification. Helped set up an association for that. So anything and everything that fits within the channel and really on the go-to-market side is where we get involved. I know enough to be dangerous on pricing, but we don't really take clients on in that side. It's just when you're involved for 25 years, you see a lot of things, so you can make some recommendations.
Yeah. Well, that makes a lot of
strategy
sense.
And the ideas, and the value prop comes down to when you're in the industry for 30 years, I don't have to be taught the industry versus if you're bringing in an outsider.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. Anything else you want to get off your chest today? I appreciate your time, and I've always enjoyed your insight. And like I said, we've had you in house and had conversations with you before, and have always enjoyed it. But anything else you want to touch on before we get off?
No, I think we've covered a wide array of different things. It's always enjoyable. I appreciate the time.
I certainly appreciate your time, and I'm glad you could join us and give us a little insight, and just really appreciate what you've done for us. So thank you so much.
You are very welcome. Look forward to it.
Awesome.
And I'm sure I'll see you in February in Orlando.
No, you'll see Mr. Cooper down there. Yep. Yeah. Brett and his team.
He just
will
has
be
to bring
down there.
back knowledge.
Yep. So
and you got to tell him, all right, if he's going down there, he's got to come back with more than $5,000 worth of incremental profit.
Yeah, much more than 5. Absolutely. So
thanks a lot.
Yep. Thank you so much.
All right. Bye-bye.
Special thanks again to David for joining us. He's got such a wealth of knowledge in the industry, and we're glad to have his insight. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Remember, if you're looking for representation from an excellent sales firm, or if you need specialized help on a project, look no further than CBM. You can find us here at cbmrep.com. Once again, like, comment, subscribe. We'd like to hear from you. Let us know your thoughts, what you'd like to see next. Thanks for joining us on Power of the Network. And remember, until next time, we'll see you next time.